Well, I'm here with Mike Schmiedeler, writer and director of Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, and Ike Reilly, the subject of Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night. How you guys doing today?
Doing great, Eric. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Talking to you guys, so it is pretty fun. Mike, first question. I'm always curious. Writing credit on a documentary. What does a screenplay for a documentary look like?
Yeah, no. So I guess I listed myself, and Michael O'Brien is what we called ourselves co-director, co-writer, and then I'm the producer. He's the editor of the film. So yeah, that's always the tricky thing on a documentary, right? Like how do you write it? I mean, you've got all your interviews to take, and obviously you need to choose your sound in there. And there's so much, natural sound. We have a ton of archive in this film as well, so it's making a lot of choices there. And in this case, it's also about making choices with songs and where we use them. And frankly, we leaned on Ike a lot too to include his voice because we want this to be about him and his voice. And so we really wanted to let his music and his words and his lyrics kind of drive thematically what we were doing throughout the doc.
And Ike, how were you approached with this? It's got to be weird to have a documentary made about you, or just any type of movie in general.
Mike and I met in a nightclub, and he was persistent, and I trusted him, and after he claims it was hard to break me down. I don't remember it quite that way, but I just let him. I kind of trusted him, and then we went to work about, I don't know, 5 years ago, I guess, 4 years ago.
So what was the thing that brought this together? Because usually with the doc, you have an idea, but you never know how it's going to turn out. But I mean, it's been around for a while, so you had to have known something. Like, what was the mission statement, I guess, going into this?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I knew a lot about him. So I met him at 2013. He mentioned saw him play at Shuba's, and Michael O'Brien, who's the editor and co-director. We worked together a lot professionally, and he's like, you got to come listen to this guy. You'd really dig his music. And I came, saw him play, and they just really blew the doors off. The Ike Reilly Assassinations, his band, they were amazing. And I was like, how are these guys not huge and touring the country and on the radio and everywhere? And remained a fan of his, and I've seen him play more than I've seen any other musician, and I'm a pretty avid music fan. I see a decent number of shows. I've in the film, I've been to a bunch of the home shows that were there, and I was at a show in 2018, and as I was sitting there thinking the same thing I'd been thinking for the last 5 years, which is, why is this guy not bigger? I'm like, well, we should do a documentary. I knew there was a ton of archive footage. That was one advantage of this huge of the doc. There was so much archive that was out there. Michael O'Brien had done videos for some of Ike's songs, and I just knew, and he had always had cameras around, so I had seen footage of it, and I'm like, well, that's a big hurdle to do in any documentary, is the content, is the source material, and Ike's got a ton of it. So just based on that alone, there's a ton of archive. He is incredibly charismatic and unique in himself and his band and the characters and kind of the people that surround him. And then his family is just outstanding. His wife Kara, and they've got four kids. And I was like, I was telling him, I'm like, you shouldn't exist in either world. It's like, you've got this amazing family and you're a rock star. It's like, people in the suburbs wish they were a rock star, and rock stars wish they had your family. And he is solidly in both these great worlds. And so, I'm like, we got to do a doc just about you, about your music and your life and who you are. And people are going to be drawn to that, and then hopefully find your music from there. And so that was really kind of my pitch to him. And I wrote up a treatment. It's what I do. I make TV shows, make documentaries. Gave him the treatment. He's like, yeah, he's like, I just don't know if I'm that interesting. And I'm like, you're the most interesting person I know, and kind of, kept at it, warmed down after about 9 months, and then went out. And if you know anything about independent filmmaking, the funding should be the hard part. Well, I secured funding within about 6 weeks because I reached out to some fellow fans of his who have means, and they loved my idea. They were all in. They're like, yes, this needs to be done. And then, we got going from there. COVID slowed us down a little. It turned out to be a little bit of a blessing, though, because O'Brien was able to really go through all the archive and catalog it, which is no small feat. I mean, there were over 200 hours of content there. So a lot of archive to deal with. And then we shot primarily in 2021, ton of interviews, a bunch of other live stuff. And then this whole time, Pete Schneider, who is our field producer and DP, incredibly talented guy. He'd been shooting Ike's shows in earnest for quite a while. So even before we got started, so we had his catalog, and then he's been along for the ride the whole time, getting additional footage while we were shooting.
And I guess one of the main kind of thrusts of this is this great musician that no one knows about. But in my experience, they're like, that's most musicians. Like there's only a few percentage that seems to kind of break out. What's kind of your thoughts just on the music business in general? Like, why is it so hard to break through and reach a bunch of people, do you think?
Well, if I knew, they wouldn't have made the film. You know? I don't know, man. You know, it's not like we were, you know, playing in, you know, in the basement. You know, I have been playing and I have been touring. I don't know what, and I know there's a lot of other undiscovered artists, and I'm even grateful for the level of fandom that I have. I can't answer your question about the music business. I can only speak to my story, and I can't figure it out for us either. I mean, I just stay focused on the songs and I don't perform without, you know, I take the shows, or we don't screw them up anymore. You know, I take the performance seriously. I take the songs. I don't mean I take them seriously. I devote discipline and dedication to making them as good as I can make them. I don't know about the music industry. It bores me to talk about it, and I don't get it. You know, I never got it when they used to criticize it in the old model with the record label and A&R men. And now I guess my only comment about it is that the things that artists value the most, their songs are now free to everybody. It's a really strange thing where the commodity and the value in what we do is, I guess, not valued by the public for some reason. I think it's probably because of the greed of, you know, a few big companies that own all the digital media, I guess.
I mean, writing songs, especially certain songs, when they pointed out in the documentary, put a little love in it. It was real personal. But like that's the song you put out there, and then other people enjoy as well. Do you have any songs that like maybe just you and a friend play, or you play just with your family? That's like, this one's for me. Don't need to put that one out there.
Not really, you know. I mean, no, I wouldn't. I have so many songs recorded that aren't out yet for one reason or another. But no, I have some terrible songs that I would never put out. You know, I'm like, whoa, that was with a friend. What a bad friend to let me record that. No, there would be nothing I would. If you know, if I'm going to take the time to record it, I would put it out there for anybody to hear. Sure.
Yeah. Well, the terrible songs are kind of, you know, sometimes you'll have a song that's like, that song sucks, and you put it out there, and like that's everyone's favorite song. So you know, you never know.
That could be. Maybe I better go through them, you know.
But Mike, how long did this take to? You said you were doing this through COVID, so I'm guessing it took a few years to get this done. And
yeah, well, like I said, we weren't able to shoot in 2020 because we kind of started at the beginning of 2020, and so that kind of slowed us down in terms of being able to shoot. So, you know, really to kind of chunk it out, I would say we did a lot of research and work in 2020. We shot in 2021. We spent about a year on the edit in 2022, and then we had a lot of success. We won in 7 festivals, which was great in 2023. And then, you know, got this deal with Gravitas, who's our distributor, and bringing it to everybody on demand everywhere on, you know, August 27th. So it'll be on platforms including, you know, Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus, Google Play, YouTube TV, Fandango at Home, as well as all the cable outlets like Comcast Infinity, Altice, Fios, really anywhere where you can get on demand. It'll be available for both purchase and rental. Right now, it's available on Apple TV Plus just for purchase only. Pre-order.
I always ask this about music documentaries because there was a music doc about the Descendants called Filmage came out. Up in Fort Collins, they had a show where they played the documentary, and then at the end of the documentary, all came out and played, and then Descendants played, and it was really awesome. And anytime I watch a music doc, I'm like, why don't they all do that? Is there any plans for this to maybe play the doc and then have Ike Reilly?
Where are you right now?
Colorado Springs.
Well, Saturday night I was in Denver with
damn it. Sold out show.
at the Sci Film Center with a musical performance right after. So I don't know how that slipped through the cracks, but not
next question. Damn it, I missed it.
And Johnny Hickman from Cracker, who lives in Westminster, played with us. And we played at the Metro in Chicago last Thursday for 2 sold out screenings and 2 full rock and roll performances. And the Monday before that, we were in Minneapolis at the Parkway Theater for a premiere and another musical performance. So yes, we are doing what you desire. You just don't know about it.
Next week, we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana on Thursday, August 22nd at the Cinema Center there. And then we're moving on to Cleveland, the Beachland Ballroom, where we'll be doing the exact same thing I just described on Friday, the 23rd.
So what's been kind of the reception on those? Because when I saw the one for Filmage, it was great, and I imagine it was just as exciting for you guys as well.
It was phenomenal. I mean, as a fan, it was phenomenal, and I think for the audience, it was very exciting because either if you knew Ike's work and you get to then see the entire band along with frankly special guests who happen to be there. And if you didn't know them, even better, because now you do. After the film, you get to know them, and then they're here, they're live, and they're playing these songs that I just learned the entire backstory of.
In Chicago last Thursday, Tom Morello joined us on stage and played, the executive producer. And he's a guitar player too. I don't know if you knew that.
Never heard of him.
And it was really an incredible celebration in Chicago, not of just the film. And it was the Chicago music community really rallied around the premiere of this film. And it was a pretty magical moment to be up there with my band and my kids and Morello and Brendan O'Shea. Many of the musicians that are in the film joined us on stage, and it was really a beautiful night.
And then on our end, Pete Schneider was there with cameras, and we captured the whole thing because we had to. We knew this was going to be pretty special.
So you mentioned that you don't keep any songs for yourself, personally, but what about the opposite end of that? Like, kind of how can you describe how songs take off? Like you write the song, it's like, yeah, it sounds pretty good. You show it to a friend. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. You record it, put it out there. People like it. But then when you play it live, and then there's certain interactions with the crowd that's like, like with you and your family singing the song towards the in the documentary becomes more than what the song originally was.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of music. It's a communal activity, I mean, you record a song and that's in one medium and that's the basis for the song. But our band, we have a certain improvisational nature that can take a song in a different direction. You can't do that, drastically because you have to, communicate with 8 players. But yeah, there's a vibe live, that's unmistakable. We are in a really great live band in the sense that we're very inclusive of the audience. You know what I mean? Try to really communicate with them, make it a cathartic experience for the people that come to see us.
How long have you been playing with the band?
I've been playing with these guys over 20 years. I've been playing with 2 of them. I've ruined the lives of a couple of musicians, yanked them out of college, even one out of high school, and they've been with me ever since, So
I'm guessing that probably helps with live shows with the sort of loose nature that you're talking about. Like you probably give the drummer a little nod. He kind of knows what you're talking about, slows the tempo down, and everyone kind of follows around.
One of the greatest things about the creative process, and particularly being in a band, is you have common knowledge that you share with other human beings. It's not everyone has that experience, I mean, we can play 200 songs, and to share that with people is a weird bond, It goes beyond friendship and beyond, normal human interaction. It's one of the things that I'm the most grateful for about all this,
Hey, Mike, with the filmmaking, I'm guessing you got you talk a lot about Mike O'Brien, but I'm sure you have other crew or people you work with. And what's kind of like the work relationship there?
Great. Well, I mean, I'm fortunate that, like I mentioned, Mike O'Brien, we'd worked together on a bunch of stuff prior. So we know each other real well. We collaborated a lot before. kind of know each other's strengths, weaknesses, which is great. And then, you know, I can't say enough about the amount Pete Schneider shot so much of this film, the live performances and a lot of the single camera documentary stuff. So super talented guy. Definitely want to kind of acknowledge his contributions to this as well. And then the archive, you know, there are so much archive. Like I said, the archive was a big draw to why we could do this, because as you can tell, we cover so much time within the documentary. You see the kids born and you see them performing with him on stage, right? You know, you see Ike as a child, and you see him through like iterations of his grave digging job, his job at the hotel as a doorman, you know, his time at home when the kids were young, to signing, you know, with Universal and the band and throughout. So I feel like we're really able to give people a really deep sense of who he is as a character because of all that archive.
It's weird because, like, Mike, you're an independent filmmaker. Ike, you're an independent musician. Like, there's a lot of crossover between the both of you and what you do and what you're trying to achieve. And then to come together and try to put this out there is kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know what the question is, but good on you for that.
No, thanks. No, well, I mean, I think that that's true, right? And I think it also, there's a lot of trust on Ike's part and his family's part. I mean, it's one thing for an artist to say, sure, I'll open up my body of work to you and I'll let you in a little bit on my process, right? That's something I know I'm interested in as a fan. I want to see whatever creative's process is. But it's another thing to open up your family. That's kind of like another level tighter even of trust there. And so I really do appreciate the amount of trust that Ike and his whole family gave to us in letting us inside kind of their life. But I also knew that's the hook, right? So like if somebody's not necessarily knows the music or into the music, you're going to be drawn in by the family. And then 2 days from now, you're going to be like, well, what was that? You know, what was that? Put a Little Love in Its song. And wait a minute, it was about, you know, the guy who set himself on fire down by the toll booth. Like, what is that? Or so he was a doorman and Trump was at his hotel and what happened with the pantsuit? Like, what is going on? So it's his songs are sticky is the way I describe it. If you don't know them, you're like, wow, it's a catchy tune, but you listen to the lyrics and it's like a whole other level of lyrics. And those are what stay with you. And really you're going to carry and think about, you know, well after the fact.
And what were some like with documentaries, it's all about discovery, both for the filmmaker and usually with the subjects as well. Are there any discoveries either of the two of you made during this?
Well, I've never seen a music documentary like this. You know, I didn't make it, so I can humbly tell you I was blown away by the film they made. You know, I mean, it doesn't always show me in the most flattering light. I don't care about that as much. You know, I'm proud to be a part of such an interesting film. It's non-linear, it's impressionistic, it's sneaky storytelling. You know, they weave songs in that are kind of time stamps, but you know, film deals with religion and alcoholism and the pursuit of authenticity in a way that's pretty sneaky. Over the past week, what I've learned from a couple thousand people or whatever seeing it live, people are moved by it, you know, and sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you don't see the beauty or the inspiration in it. But I couldn't tell you how many artists and non-artists and insurance men and, you know, soccer moms have approached me in the past week and said how inspirational it was. I laugh. I said, yeah, it's inspirational unless you're in it. But that's on these guys. You know, they told a story. And you know, I think everybody's life told in the right way, you know, could be interesting. And that's kind of those are the things I write about too, you know. I don't write about glamour and celebrity. I write about people that are trying to get through the week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned that why would you want to do a documentary about me? I'm not that interesting. And then you just described an amazing documentary. So like what was kind of your thoughts on that? Like, holy crap, I guess maybe I am worth talking about.
I don't know about that. You know, I mean, what do they say? I'll be totally honest with you. I mean, they made a great film. From a selfish perspective, I just want to work more. You know, I want my band to work more. I want my band to get I think I have an incredible band and I want all those guys to be recognized and I want us to be able to make a living for the next 20 years if we live that long, you know? So, that would be my obvious motivation for letting somebody show the public what an asshole I am.
Well, you're a lovable, so
Thank you.
Beyond
works.
lovable, beyond lovable, beyond
Okay,
lovable.
we can end this interview now, Mike. You got your quote.
There it is.
Well,
I got to tell you one thing. My favorite quote about the film, my wife was in Denver. My wife was a unwilling participant in this film, and Mike will tell you. And she did go to Denver with me to the premiere because I have family there. She wanted to visit. After the screening, I said, "What did you think?" And she goes, "The seats were comfortable." So that's my wife's quote on the film.
fun. Well, we always like to ask people to give us some kind of underseen movies that you really like or was real personal. But I also think on top of that, I'd like to know about some underseen bands that you like to put a light on as well.
The Ike Reilly assassination.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. I was like, there's a band I know out of the Chicago area called the Ike Reilly Assassination. And let me tell you something. They got a dynamite catalog of songs, and you really got to check them out. You really got to check them out.
I have a lot of bands I work with. I mean, like just the other night at Metro, I brought up a bunch of young guys that have bands in Chicago. I got a friend named Max Neiman who's in a band called the Fellow Travelers out of Milwaukee. My bass player Pete Cimbalo's son is in a band called Alga out of Chicago. Or another kid named Jake Luce is in a band called Kangaroo Court out of Chicago. All those guys joined me on stage at the Metro. Those are some up and coming bands from the Midwest that I think fit the bill to your question.
Hey, Mike, you got any?
On the band front of the film front, it's tough. Like on the musical documentary front, one that I've enjoyed that's old, frankly, is Mistaken for Strangers. That's about the National, and because his brother's in it, and it's more about their relationship. The band is there, and it's interesting. And I mean, that film's probably from 2013 or 2015. It's an older film, but it's great. And again, interesting because I found it interesting because of the familial relationship there.
Don't turn your back on Friday night. Don't turn your back on this doc. There's my pun for the day. Comes out on TVOD on August 27th on iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. And can you say again what I don't know when this will release, but what live shows you got planned?
When I don't. Do you have any idea when your show's going?
Probably next week just before the release.
I'm going to Europe in September to kick around, so I don't have any. Next week, yeah. We'll be. I know where we'll be for sure. Thanksgiving Eve will be at the First Avenue in Minneapolis. I don't have the dates in front of me of when we're going to be playing next, but if you want to see us, find the movie.
And the Thanksgiving Eve show is prominently featured in this doc. That's where the boys all sang on stage for the first time. That's a gig Ike's been selling out for a long time up in Minneapolis. He's got a great fan base up there. And that show and that venue it's pretty special, not just to the doc, but just you can catch that live. It's worth doing.
All right. Well, Mike, I thank you both for joining me today and wish you all the success, Ike in your music, Mike in your filmmaking, and both of you in this documentary. It was real fun and good talking with you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.